or hire the internal auditor from outside the companies, okay, from outside the companies. Because why this happen? Sometimes we need the internal audit for us to conduct the audit for activities that are actually new to the company. Okay, maybe the company is engaged in a new project, okay, and the internal party in the company do not have expertise, do not have knowledge on that specific project. So that's why when it comes to the um, audit in for the internal part of the company, they need to outsource, find the expertise or the person that's knowledgeable in that area. So that's why the company also could outsource and even can co-sourcing. Okay, maksudnya dalam company tu dia dah ada internal audit department, but when it comes to some of the mm, matters, okay, or come to the new project or anything that's new to the company, then the company can co-source. Dia boleh ada internal party yang akan involve dalam internal audit, being as part of the internal audit for the companies. Okay. So first we look at the definition. Okay, what is the definition of the internal audit? So this definition is defined by IIA, Institute of Internal Auditors, IIA. Okay. So all the um, rules, regulation will be governed by this IIA lah, okay, or that related to the internal auditors. So internal auditing is an independent, okay, when it comes as part of the parties in the companies, yeah, the internal auditor still must be independent. Sometimes we think that people that comes inside the company, okay, in the company, people maksudnya when come to the perkara-perkara yang auditing, so benda tu dia akan menjadikan bias kan. So that's why sometimes bila kita nak audit, we need to apa ni, external party macam external auditor kan. Tapi dalam ni konsep internal audit ni dia kena apply the independent. Okay, must be independent. Objective assurance and consulting activity designed to add value. Okay, to add value. Okay, right. So the existing of the internal audit in the company, okay, being independent, objective assurance, consulting activity that going to add value, okay, add value and improve the organization's operations. Okay, that's the purpose of having the internal audit in the company. Okay, being independent, objective assurance, and consulting activity that designed to add value and improve an organization's operation. So with the having the internal auditor in a company, okay, this party will assist the company to achieve the objectives by bringing a systematic discipline approach to evaluate. Okay, so what the internal auditor will do is going to evaluate and improve the effectiveness of risk management, control, and governance process. Okay, this is the three things that will be carried out by the internal auditing company. Evaluate, improve the effectiveness of risk management, control, and governance process. So basically, in a company, um, we have a few of the mechanisms. Okay, sorry class. Can you still hear me? Boleh dengar tak?
Boleh, Doktor.
Boleh. Sebab ada dengar bunyi vacuum tak? Tak ada. Ada dengar vacuum?
Tak ada.
Sebab saya dengar macam kuat jugalah di bilik sebelah guna vacuum. Okay. So we know that we have few of mechanisms in a company. Yeah. So few of mechanism we have at the first place we have the internal control in the company kan. So internal control pun purpose dia lebih kurang macam ni juga kan. Tapi ini yang tu yang terlibat dalam operation lah. Okay. So maksudnya kita ada few mechanisms yang mana dia purpose dia adalah untuk effectiveness of the companies lah. We have these are few of the mechanisms or role, okay, daripada internal control, and then daripada segi IT pun kita ada implemented IT information system, and now we have the internal audit as well as we have the external auditor lah. So external auditor tu dah at the end dah kan, dah bila dah siap semua, then we come to the external auditor. So maksud ni internal audit ni dalam still lagi within the company sebelum all the reports is finalized lah, sebelum external auditor conduct their engagement. So internal auditor's role include monitoring, assessing and analyzing organizational risk. Okay. Control and reviewing and confirming information and compliance with policies, procedures and laws. So banyak, okay, actually banyak yang akan di review, di monitor and assess by the internal auditors. Okay, all the information termasuk financial lah, okay, di situ. It also include in financial, compliance with policies. Okay, we have the related policies dalam activity yang company to engage. So they must they aware with the related policies and as well as the procedures and the laws and rules that govern, that relate to the company's activities. Okay, now we look at the concept of internal audit. Okay, so the concept of internal audit, it is a dynamic profession. Okay, sebab dia tak static pada satu role saja, dia ada banyak role, and internal audit ni dia must be knowledgeable lah. Okay, that's why it's a dynamic profession that involve in assist organization or assist the company achieve their objective. Okay, so it is concerned with evaluating and improving the effectiveness of risk management, control and governance process in an organization. So this is actually what we can find the same wording dalam definition tadi lah. Okay, about the internal audit. And same to when it comes to the role, still they discuss about the definition of the internal audit that provide the independent assurance, okay, that an organization risk management, governance and internal control process are operating effectively. So internal audit are organized under an ongoing program of review and advisory activities and are based on the strategic needs of an organization. Okay, so with regard to the role, okay, the role of internal audit, okay, the internal auditors work across all areas of an organization. Okay, that's why yang tadi lah they define as a highlightkan the role ni is a dynamic profession. Okay, because it work across all areas of an organization. Semua department audit ni will be cross in lah. Okay. So in addition to the core areas of financial control and IT, okay, financial control tu memang ada, will be engaged on that. They review the tangible aspect of operations, such as an organization, supply chain or IT systems, as well as intangible aspects such as culture and ethics in the company. In fact, any system that has an impact on the effective operation of an organization may be included in internal audit scope. So, to whom the internal audit will report? So, internal audit will report to the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer of the company and board, but it will present through the audit committee. Okay, so audit committee maksudnya dia tak ada direct daripada CEO, tapi the audit committee is representing the board, okay, the CEO. As they provide an independent viewpoint on the extent to which an organization is poised for success and advice on areas for improvement. So, internal audits, okay, internal auditors, we can find internal auditors dalam few organization, not only in a company, okay. In a company, we also have internal audit department. In the public sector also, we have the internal audit. As well as for the private, when we are talking for the companies, it is the profit orientation organization. But we also have the, for the non-profit organization, also we have the internal audit for the big of the NGO, kan? Okay. And they will work as an employee of the company or the organization or through an external service provider. So external service tu adalah outsourcing lah maksudnya. So actually, who can be as the internal audit? Okay, who can be as the internal audit? So for those yang, of course lah, yang the experienced person lah kan, that be engaged, can be appointed as the internal auditor. Contohnya for, if let's say you has been graduated and you are joining the external the audit firm. So after you had a lot of experience, you boleh join later as an internal audit. So internal audit ni maksudnya head of internal audit department lah. Contohnya jadi head department. Kalau maybe you just for the assistant tu, fresh graduate tu maybe boleh join lah kan. Tapi kalau untuk jadi head tu, it become, we will appoint the person yang ada experience, one experience. So yang dah terlibat dalam as being as normally dia ni dah as an external auditor kan, ataupun you are as an accountant. Tapi kalau accountant, they do not have much experience as compared to external auditor. Sebab kalau you masih ingat, external auditor dia orang contoh kita conduct audit, we involve in a few companies, in a few types, in a few business sector. So we have a lot of experience, okay, as compared to the accountant kan. Kalau kita nak cakap accountant tak bagus, auditor tu lagi bagus. Tapi in terms of their job scopes, that's why the external auditor are more knowledgeable and they have more information, because when they conduct or engage in auditing, so dia akan terlibat dalam banyak sektor. Dalam oil and gas, dalam retailer, dalam pharmacy company, dalam plantation. So that's why when you are eligible, more eligible to be appointed as an internal auditor later on, bila you joining internal auditor dalam a big company yang ada banyak the in terms of the diversified business kan. Okay, so internal audit ni actually saya pun pernah terlibat dalam internal audit department sebelum ni lah, okay, long time ago. So dia tak kurang nak cakap tu macam tak macam not really stressful as being as the external auditor lah. Okay, sebab internal auditor ni we just cater the issues, okay, all the matters in one of our organizations. Kalau external auditor ni banyak benda yang, and of course it just relate to financial only. Tapi bila you dah ada dalam satu company tu, easy for you, you dah banyak benda you dah faham, so you just going through the process and the work that's it. Okay. So ada soalan kelas? You have any question? Are you still with me? Kalau saya bercakap seorang-seorang je kat sini. All right. Next. We look at the importance, okay, the importance of an internal audit in an organization. So, um, why? Okay, why having the internal audit is important to the company? Okay, so the first importance here, evaluating control and advising managers at all levels. Okay, at all levels, dia tak kira sama ada dia nak advise the senior management ataupun dia nak come advice to the uh, non-executive management, okay, the executive management ataupun siapa-siapa je. So itu adalah powers and the role of the internal auditor in a company. So dia boleh touch any department, any roles um, yang tak efficient or not effective. So the internal auditor has the power, possess the power to advise the managers. Okay, so internal auditor's role in evaluating internal control is wide. So dia mana-mana je dia boleh pergi. So it's a wide roles, okay, ranging because everyone from the main room to the boardroom is involved in internal control. So the internal auditor's work includes assessing the tone and risk management culture of the organizations at one level through to evaluating and reporting on the effectiveness of the implementation of management policies at one another. So this is the roles that cannot be carried out by person from the head of department A to department B, the head department B, sudah tak boleh buat, tapi these matters, okay, the internal auditors uh, can provide, can give the advice when um, the internal auditors found that maybe the loopholes in this, in that related department, in that or what has been carried out by the manager of the companies. And then evaluating the risk. So internal auditors identify key activities and relevant risk factors and assess their significance, whether the risk that they identify is will provide the negativity impact or not to the companies. So changing trends and business economic conditions impact the way the internal audit assess risk. The techniques of internal auditing have changed from reactive and control-based form to a more proactive and risk-based approach. So this will enable, okay, the internal auditor to anticipate possible future concerns and opportunities as well as identify current issues. So in identifying or evaluating the risk, the internal auditor will apply the risk-based approach, okay, to identify the possible future risks that will be faced by the companies. And then analyzing operations and confirming information. So achieving objectives and managing valuable organizational resources requires systems, process, and people. Okay, so internal auditors will work closely with the line managers to review operations. Okay, not just they have power to advise the top level of management in the company. Okay, but the internal auditor also will closely work with the line managers to review operations and then report uh, on their findings. So sebab tu kalau dia tak tengok in terms of the operating, so the internal auditor tak boleh nak provide the best advice, right? So that's why they're analysing the operations yang berlaku dalam company tu. Okay, so that dia boleh provide the best advice in terms of efficiency and effectiveness in that operation activities. So the internal auditors must be well versed in the strategy objectivities of the companies, and they have a clear understanding on how the operations at any given part of the organization fit into the bigger picture. And then the other importance of having the internal audit in a company is regarding the reviewing compliance. So reviewing the compliance is related to the we identify whether the company is compliant with the related regulations, okay, related rules, law, or any code of practice, guideline, and principles. Okay, so they're going to reviewing and identify in terms of the compliance. Okay, so actually we discuss, okay, macam since the internal auditor will involve in all departments of the companies, okay, all the departments, in all the operating process. So, do we need to have the internal auditor with financial background only? Can we have the internal auditor from other than the accounting backgrounds? Can or not, class? Is it a compulsory for us to have the internal auditor with the accounting background only? Macam mana class? What's your opinion? Do you understand my question? Sebelum I lupa, jangan lupa check your attendance dekat clip tu. So sekarang ni I tanya, you faham tak soalan saya? Do we need to have a person with accounting background to be appointed as an internal auditor? Is it necessarily only with the accounting background to be appointed as an internal auditor? So sekarang ni you dah faham what has been carried out by the internal auditor in the company. And now I'm asking you, is it compulsory for us to have the internal auditor with the accounting background only? Macam mana? I'm asking you now. Macam mana, kelas? Yes, compulsory with accounting background. So meaning that if we do not have the accounting background, that person cannot be appointed as an internal auditor. Macam tu. Think yes. Can any one of you, kalau mic tu cakap dah sikit kan, dah nak habis dah semester. Dah lah, tak pernah you on. Baru pun tak dengar. Betul lah. Punya kelas. Open up your mic, please. Say something. Baca chat tu yelah. Kalau mic tu. Give your opinion. What do you think about this? Is it compulsory? Necessarily. Those with accounting background only to be appointed as internal. class?
Yes, doctor.
Hmm?
It is compulsory. Tapi I think maybe kalau dia ada background lain juga.
Ada background lain. Maksudnya, at the first place, must be.
Yes, must be.
Nak cakap macam tu, must be. Okay, thank you. Alright. Okay, we have 36 of you in this class. How about others? What's your opinion?
Yes, perlu.
Also, yes. Why? Why do you think so?
Um,
Mm-hmm.
sebab dia pun boleh um, ada apa tu?
Ya.
Hmm.
Ada apa?
Background lain juga, tapi accounting dia mesti ada lah sebab dia dia pun transaction semua tu kena auditor kena tahu. Itu kot.
Macam tu. Okay. So basically, when it comes to the internal auditor, that's why tadi I cakap awal-awal tadi kan. Awal tadi I cakap, let's say for example, if the company is engaging or involved with a new project, okay? Contoh kan. So when they involved in a new project, of course, the company, okay, for those, let's say, for example, the person in dalam company and in the existing company, they do not have the expertise. Okay, they don't have they're not knowledgeable with regard to new things, with regard to the new methods. Okay, so that's why they need to find person yang expert lah. Contoh dalam projek, contoh nak cakap projek apa yang contoh dalam projek yang contoh sekarang ni adalah with regard to the vaccine. Okay, projek untuk buat vaksin, and the vaccine is about the COVID-19. Okay, contoh dalam pharmaceutical companies, you are the internal auditor in that companies. So when come to this new thing, okay, and plus with the variants of Omicron, right? So does the existing internal auditor to you memang don't have the expertise. So how you going to being a part of the parties that are involving with that new project though? Okay, it's about vaccine project. Project tu is about the vaccine of COVID-19 and plus more on the variant of Omicron, right? And so, and when come to these matters, okay, when come to these matters, they don't necessarily we are as a accountant to be as an internal audit for that related project, and that's why we need from others party who are expertise, who are knowledgeable in the area. So basically, it is not necessary lah, okay, to appointed a person to be as the internal auditor adalah orang yang have the financial background. That's why we have the co-sourcing tadi saya bagi tahu kan. Co-sourcing. Maksudnya we already have the internal auditor in a company, in our company, but when it comes to view into matters, to that matters, kita nak kena dapatkan advice daripada internal auditor, tapi yang knowledgeable in that related background. Tapi dia tak semestinya adalah accounting background, pasal accounting background. Jadi tak semestinya lah by right, tapi kalau untuk yang kita appointed for company tu, it could be that we have a few of internal auditors, okay, yang expert dalam related area. Okay. And then that's why if you you can read in your textbook or from this slide as well. Many, but not all internal auditors have accountancy backgrounds. Okay, or have come from roles within the finance functions, but not necessarily dia nak conduct, nak review or nak advice related to audit function saja. Sorry, the financial function only. Okay, bukan untuk finance department only, tapi untuk the whole of the companies. That's why it is not necessarily with the accounting background lah kan. Okay, sometimes internal audit teams have an administrative reporting line to the head of finance as well as functional reporting line to the audit committee. Although the financial skills of accountants are very useful to do their job effectively, internal auditors need to possess a high level of technical internal auditing skills and knowledge. They must also be effective communicators, good project managers, analytically strong and good negotiators. So maksudnya it's not easy for you to become as the internal auditor of the company. Dia tak semestinya you adalah possess the accounting qualification only to be as the internal auditor. So I hope that you understand with my explanation about this issue. Okay. Ada soalan kelas? Do you have any questions before we look at another subtopic of this internal audit? Do you have any question?
No.
No. Okay. Next we look at. So role. Now we look at role of internal auditor. So actually all this mentioned role ni, assessing the management risk, assisting management in corporate governance, assisting management in the improvement of internal controls. So kalau you perasan dalam definition pun ada mention kan. It's mentioned that bringing a systematic discipline approach to evaluate and improve the effectiveness risk management and control. And then the governance process, tapi tak include satu lagi pasal internal control lah dalam definition itu. Okay, system management in the improvement of internal control. So we look at if you look at the textbook, okay, at page 21, it's provide to you the role. Okay, assessing the management risk. So the key to an organization's success is to manage those risks effectively. So in any area, okay, in any related area we involving, even we as a human pun kita akan involve dengan risk kan. So let's say macam sekarang ni dengan risiko banjir kan, assessing, we sometimes it's cannot predict okay, about the risk. Ada risk tu yang kita boleh identify. So for the risk that we could identify, then we have to manage the risk. Contohnya sekarang yang berlaku dalam negara kita, in our country with regard to the disaster kan. So disaster is a risk kan, it's a risk. So it's a part that the thing that must as the internal auditor lah, okay, as the internal auditor apa yang kita nak tengok hari ni. So he or she must know how to manage the risk. Mungkin dia something yang berlaku di Selangor kan. So it's a thing that we cannot predict, but it's happened. But what would be the precaution kalau lah as the internal auditor tu dia tak boleh nampak this is actually the risk that potentially will occur for the company. Contoh kalau few of the retailer, okay, for the retailer company, contoh yang berlaku hari tu adalah Giant kan dekat Shah Alam tu. So huge losses of course will occur. So kalau benda ni risk yang dia dah identify, of course dia boleh manage supaya losses tu boleh di avoid kan. Tapi dari sudut ni lah kita perlu ada maybe untuk tahun ni lah, untuk tahun ni dah berlaku kan. It is unpredictable, but what are the rules that could be provided by the internal auditor is assessing on those risks, disaster risk. Okay, how to manage the disaster risk yang berlaku at suddenly, sangat sekejap kan benda tu berlaku. So macam dekat negara kita sekarang ni untuk analysing the disaster risk tu macam is a part of the role of the management, not in the capacity of internal auditor lah. Okay, untuk identify and provide the preparedness towards that. Sebab boleh menyebabkan loss lah, tak efficient pada company tu. Sebab nowadays kalau you masih ingat lah kan kebiasaannya in our country, kalau bulan at the end of the year, bulan 12 macam ni, and it is continue until January, yang negeri yang berlaku banjir is basically di pantai timur saja, Terengganu, Kelantan dan Pahang. And tak pernah pun, seingat saya tak pernah pun berlaku seteruk ni di dah memang tak berlaku di sebelah pantai barat sana kan, di Selangor, KL semua. Jadi evaluating or assessing the disaster risk tu adalah sesuatu yang penting sangat-sangat untuk masa sekarang. Kalau you ada tengok dalam meteorology, okay, so it's actually relate to the climate change lah, okay, climate change matters issue. Dan dia cakap macam-macam lagi yang di luar jangkaan akan berlaku pada negara kita kan. Kalau you ada follow atau you terbaca di social media ke di mana, so this thing would happen lah. Dan bila kita tengok a lot of the landslide yang berlaku sekarang ni, macam hari tu di one of the mahal lah di UIA kan, ada tanah, not tanah runtuh tapi dia macam tanah yang tu di bawah bangunan tu lagi stable lagi, tapi tanah tu and another landslide merata-rata berlaku tanah runtuh. And even bila bulan ni kita pun macam nak pergi ke tempat-tempat yang tentu nak lalu grid pun macam risau kan. Kalau tak ada keperluan yang penting, so macam try to avoid to travel using the road lah. Kan? Jadi, so we are talking about managing the, assessing the management of risk. Tapi management of risk, so yang saya highlight sekarang ni berkaitan dengan assessing the management of risk related to the disaster lah. Disaster sebab yang berlaku. Sebab apa yang berlaku tu akan affect pada company tu. So what are the rules that would be shown to you that you will assist the company as the internal auditor of the company. So benda ni you perlu evaluate juga. Okay, evaluate and assess and provide the preparedness towards that. Okay. So sekarang ni pasca banjir macam kita tak nampak lagi analysing of how much the losses that incurred by the company and so on. Sebab apa? Sebab sekarang ni kita hanya fokus kepada bantuan, okay, bantuan banjir kepada masyarakat terlibat. Jadi in terms of the organisation tu kita tak nampak. Actually diorang pun suffer, okay. Diorang pun suffer daripada apa yang berlaku, okay, this disaster. Right? Faham tak kelas apa yang saya cakap ni? Ikutlah saya je yang faham apa yang saya cakap. You all tak faham. Ya, saya cakap seorang-seorang je.
Faham, Doktor.
Apa yang saya maksudkan, sebab benda ni kita macam it's still not documented benda ni kan, tapi this is what happened and what are the roles dalam capacity as the internal auditor pun ada role sendiri dan juga role from other parties as well. Okay, macam government still lagi dalam shock mungkin kan, bukan shock, okay, for what happened. As well as political, kita punya company pun tak berapa nak stabil mana kan. But what to do, kita harap Allah sentiasa melindungi negara kita lah kan, daripada semua malapetaka. And another thing, ada ke your family, related family yang pergi umrah? Ada ke your family? Close family, tak ada?
Tak ada.
Ya. So sebab dalam keadaan belum stabil lagi kan, and we already close the border, our government lah, not Saudi, not Saudi Arabia, tapi our government yang took the initiative. And daripada information yang saya dapat, it's about of 200 something of the Malaysian yang masih lagi ditahan di Arab Saudi sana, tak boleh balik sebab dia orang positif COVID. Okay, positif COVID. And ada saya punya guru saya pun yang baru balik pun positif COVID, coming from menunaikan umrah. Jadi I don't think that jangan kelas. Yeah. Okay, so I don't think that this thing will be ended. Okay, this thing will be ended. Tak fikir, tapi apa yang kita boleh buat. Kadang tu bila terlalu fikir kita jadi, we don't know what actually we need to do kan. Macam yang penting doa lah. Okay, doa. Kita tak mampu nak control, this is out of our control. Tapi yang kita boleh buat, kita doa. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allah, la ilaha illa anta billahi. Kita bertawakal. Sebab kita dah tak ada daya dan upaya. But janganlah pula you tawakal pada Allah tapi you tak jaga SOP. Itu tak betul lah kan. So jaga SOP, pakai mask. Kalau tempat ramai orang, avoid it to be there. Contohnya kalau macam kenduri kendara kan, jangan pun tak pergi pun tak apalah kan, sebab bila waktu kenduri tu orang daripada tempat-tempat lain, we don't know kan. So macam tu lah. Saya pun tak pernah pergi attend kenduri. Walaupun dia cakap saliva test ke apa test ke, kadang dia hidden tau, it's hidden. And satu yang saya terbaca, one of my friend list tu meninggal sebab COVID. So macam benda ni hanya di sekeliling, it's surrounding us now kan, surrounding us. Jadi sentiasa beringat, berdoa dan baca doa satu lagi tu Bismillahirrahmanirrahim tu kan, I rasa semua tahu. Dan jangan lupa untuk amalkan baca setiap hari. Kita minta Allah yang jaga kita. Sebab kita nak takut sangat tak boleh. Takut tu yes, tapi benda ni daripada Allah. Benda daripada Allah. Satu, ujian daripada Allah. Itu sesuatu berlaku tu adalah, saya tak tahu sama ada saya dah cakap belum. Ujian tu adalah satu ujian apabila dia berlaku dan mendekatkan diri kita pada Allah, dan ujian itu adalah bala, adalah bala jika dia berlaku tu menjauhkan kita daripada pencipta kita. Okay, go back to the role of the internal auditor. So kita cakap tentang assessing the management of risk. Okay, assessing the management of risk. So we're talking about the disaster risk management. And then so dalam textbook ni dia ada cakap tentang the key to an organization's success is to manage the risk effectively, so more effectively than competitors and as effectively as stakeholders demands. So kita nak kena compete dengan competitors as well. So bila kita maksudnya kita be at par or more, okay, more than the competitors of the companies. To evaluate how well risks are being managed, the internal auditor will assess the quality of risk management process, systems of internal control and corporate governance process across all parts of an organization, and report this directly to independently to the most senior level of management. Okay, so maksudnya kita nak evaluate in terms of SOP, of identifying the risks and so on. And the second thing is the role of an auditor is to assist management in corporate governance. So corporate governance is the thing that exists in the company. So you know what is the mechanisms or the parties yang include dalam corporate governance tu adalah Siapa kelas corporate governance the company tu? Who are them? Who are the parties in the corporate governance of the company? Sebab you dah pernah belajar dalam company secretary semester 6 kan you ambil? Kelas? Semester berapa ambil company secretary?
Semester 6.
Last semester. So I ask you, who are the corporate governance in the company? Who are them? Who are them? Could you mention? Siapa yang ada dalam tu? Dah belajar kan? You must know.
Board of Directors.
Apa dia? Tak dengar. Board of Directors. And then? And then? Siapa lagi dalam tu? Who are inside the corporate governance of the company? Yes. Board of Directors. Lagi? Alah, you accounting graduate. People say about the corporate governance then you don't know. Puan kelas. Committee member, committee apa tu? Committee member apa tu maksud you? Committee member? Committee member apa? We have a lot of committee in the company. We have a risk management committee. We have banyak sebenarnya committee member. So try to be specific. Who are them? Board member, yes.
Audit Committee.
Audit committee. Audit committee member. So when, okay. So both are there. Okay, two of this bila kita cakap corporate governance. So then you know in your mind, corporate governance, board and audit committee. Basically, we are referring to these two. So when we are talking about the board, corporate governance mechanism in a company, what are the role of the corporate governance mechanism in a company? So you tahu lah. You boleh jawab lah. So itu adalah board dan ada audit committee. Okay. So committee member tu tak tepat. It's a board members, audit committee. So these are the part in the governance, corporate governance in a company. Okay, so these also the roles that will be carried out by the internal auditor that to assist the management in the corporate governance of the company. So the profession of internal audit and corporate governance has highlighted the critical role of directors in promoting good corporate governance. In particular, boards are charged with responsibility for effectiveness of their organization's internal control system. Internal audit plays a key role in supporting the board in ensuring adequate oversight of internal control and the effectiveness of corporate governance by delivering. So these are the things that will be ensured, will be ensured by the internal controls. So that will be ensured that we internal audit. Okay, so then we're going to look at the evaluate the existing risks and internal control framework, systematic analysis of business process and associated controls, reviews the existence of value of assets, a source of information on major frauds and irregularities, ad hoc reviews. Ad hoc review ni penting. Ad hoc reviews of other areas of concern including unacceptable level of risk. Sometimes kita libat dalam internal audit. So sometimes kita pergi contoh kita pergi visit branch. Okay. Ad hoc kita tak mention, tak bagi tahu. So that's nak tengok dia orang prepare. Kita tak akan penalize kan, tapi at least diorang akan be prepared lah buat kerja diorang konsisten bila kita conduct secara ad hoc. Sama lah juga you kalau I buat ad hoc quiz. Kita tak adalah nak buat macam tu. Because it is assessment yang kita nak evaluate kan, ada markah. Tak adil lah I buat macam tu. Okay, and then reviews the compliance framework and specific compliance issues, review operational and financial performance, recommendations for more effective and efficient use of resources, assessment of the accomplishment of corporate goals and objectives, and then feedback and adherence to the organization value and code of conduct or code of ethics. So this is basically the wide role, okay, in relation to the governance in the company. Okay, that will be carried out by the internal auditor. And then about the internal control, assist management in the improvements of internal control. So an internal auditor's knowledge of risk management enables him or her to act as a consultant and catalyst for improvement in an organization practice. So, to provide you an example here, for the line manager is concerned about a particular area of responsibility. Working with the internal auditor could help to identify improvement. Okay, so that's from an auditor see how the operation is conducted, so dia boleh nampak in which part that could be improved. Okay, and that's we will recommend to the line manager lah. Okay, so that will be more effectively lah. Or in a new project that undertaken, and the internal auditor can assist to ensure that project risks are clearly identified and controls put in place to manage them. Then when you look at their roles of the internal auditor, okay, we can see that there is no restriction on the role of the internal auditor within the organization, but internal audit project tend to vary from one company to another company. So dia berbeza-beza. So that's why the internal auditor must be knowledgeable lah. Okay, must be knowledgeable, informative. So dia nak kena keep up to date their knowledge. Okay, not only the accountant yang nak kena update with all the related standards, and this is also same to the internal auditor. Okay, next. We look at the differences. Okay, what are the differences? The differences between the internal and external audits. So we look at the internal of to whom they will report. For the external auditor, they will report to the shareholders, because what are the report that prepared by external auditor is for the public, kan? Dalam audit report tu kita ada satu independent audit reports, so that report is offered, it can be read by all the stakeholders, by public. So the reports of external auditor is to shareholder or members who are outside the organization's governance structure. But for the internal audit reports, it just report to the boards and senior management who are within the organization's governance structure. Maksudnya externally for the outside parties, but for the internal audit report for those inside the governance, those inside the companies. And then the objectives. Okay, we look at the objective of the external audit. It is to add credibility and reliability to financial reports, because it's a verification on the financial statement, kan? That's what we define on the auditing. Okay, it's a verification whereby the auditor provide an opinion whether the financial statement show true and value. Itu yang kita define. So it's about the financial report from the organization to its stakeholder by giving an opinion on the reports. But for the internal audit, the objective is to evaluate and improve the effectiveness of governance, risk management, and control procedure. Okay, this provide members of the boards with the boards and senior management. Okay, boards and senior management with assurance that assist them fulfill their duties to organization and its stakeholders. And you remember that the role of internal audit is sebenarnya untuk assist untuk effectiveness, efficiency of the company. That's why dia nak evaluate risk, okay, and provide the control process, okay, to assist the boards and the senior management to carry out their duties and roles effectively. Next, coverage. So external audit is coverage on related to the financial, okay, financial reports, financial reporting risk. But for the internal audit, it is more than that. Not only financial related matters, but all categories of risk, okay, including the management, including reporting on them. So it's have wide coverage, not only the financial report, but all the operations, all the operation all in the department of the companies. And in terms of the responsibility for improvement, none for the external audit, none. However, there is a duty to report problems. Okay, but for the internal audit, internal auditor, the improvement is fundamental to the purpose of internal audit. But is it done by advising, coaching, and facilitating to not undermine the responsibility of management. Okay, any question, class? Do you have any questions? You all tak ada kelas kan? So we continue, kita sambung lagi sikit lagi Alright. Relationship, okay. Relationship between the internal audit function and external auditor. Yeah, we have the relationship between these two parties. Maksudnya, of course, the internal audit and external auditor work independently lah, according to their roles and responsibility. Tapi dia akan ada interaction between the internal audit and external auditor. So, the activities of internal audit function may include the following. So we just repeat again on what we had discussed. Monitoring internal control, examination of financial and operating information, review of operating activities. Okay, so that's the activity of internal audit function. The review of compliance with law and regulations, risk management, governance. Okay, these are all the things that we discussed previously, class. Okay, kalau you tengok they provide to you dalam textbook you page 6 to 8, okay. They provide to you the internal audit function apa and they provide to you the external audit apa. Tapi dalam slide tak provide, okay. So the external auditors should relate their work to the function of the internal audit by determining whether the work of internal auditor is adequate, which include the following. Okay, because of the work that carried out by the internal auditor, okay, the quality of work of an internal auditor itself itu akan membantu assist the work of the external auditor. Okay, sama juga macam internal control yang dah effectively. So effective so dia mengurangkan beban tu, bukan beban lah, mengurangkan tugas lah. Maksudnya dia more reliable to the company's internal control bila internal control tu tak problematic kan. Same to goes to the internal auditor. So determining whether the work of internal auditors is adequate. Okay, so it includes the following in terms of the objectivity, technical competence, due professional care, communication, timing, and evaluation of internal auditors' work. So we look at one of the in terms of the objectivity. Okay, objectivity, the status of internal audit. Okay, the status of internal audit function within the entity and the effect such status has on the ability of the internal auditors to be objective. Okay, whether the first is whether internal audit function report to those charged with governance or an officer with appropriate authority, and whether the internal auditors have direct access to those charged with governance, whether the internal auditors are free of any conflicting responsibility. Sometimes the department in the company ada yang tak nak bagi kerjasama pada internal audit. Ada juga kes yang berlaku macam tu. So the objectivity cannot be carried out by the internal auditor tu tak objectivity lah kalau benda ni berlaku. Whether those charged with governance will oversee employment decisions related to the internal audit function. Okay, so in appointing the internal auditor tu, governance pun ada role dia. Okay, to identify who will the best to be appointed as the internal auditor lah. So it will be mean by the governance of the company. Whether there are any constraints or restrictions placed on the internal audit function by management or those charged with governance. Ni macam public jugalah kalau ada restriction. So internal audit tu tak boleh, not objectivity in performing their roles. And then whether and to what extent management acts on the recommendations of internal audit function and how such actions is evidence. So ini contoh dalam term of objectivity yang akan di evaluate by the external auditor lah. Okay. So maksudnya as the external auditor, he or she not simply accept on the work or the report carried out by the internal auditor, tapi external auditor akan tengok dulu in term of contoh yang pertama ni, in term of the objectivity tu macam mana. Okay. So dia akan evaluate dululah. So kalau dah any of these thing occurs, okay, dalam company tu maksudnya objectivity purpose tu tak tercapai, jadi dia tak boleh nak fully rely lah daripada work of internal auditor. Contoh yang terakhir bawah sekali tadi tu, kita kena identify whether and to what extent management acts on the recommendations of internal audit function. Internal audit tu dah buat kerja, but then all the recommendation and the suggestion provided by them, management tak apply pun, tak implement, so that the company tu masih lagi dalam keadaan yang tak efficient, tak effective, tak follow the procedure, SOP. Jadi as an external auditor dia nak kena that methods. Right? So for the rest tu you boleh baca balik tengok the technical competence, the professional care, communication. Okay. And then we look at the next slide about the types of internal audit activities. Of course, the internal audit activity are very wide. Okay, because it's not just look at the financial matters, tapi all of this we covered, including the operational audit, program audit, fraud audit, ethical business practices audit, compliance audit, system development and life cycle review, control assessment audit, financial audit. So what are them? So for operational audit ni, sebab you pernah belajar juga dalam types of audit sebelum ni kan, so macam operational ni, audit ni pernah ada itu. So in terms of the evaluating the organizational unit to determine whether it's functioning effectively and efficiently. And then program audit. Program audit is a audit program, okay, evaluate whether the stated goals or objective for a project or initiative had been achieved. It may include an appraisal of whether an alternative approach can achieve the desired at a lower cost. These types of audit are also called performance audit or management audit. So program audit ni kita juga panggil sebagai performance audit. Fraud audit adalah audit investigate whether the organisation has suffered through misappropriation of assets, manipulation of data, omission of information or illegal acts. So that's about the fraud audit. Ethical business practice audit. An ethical business practice audit means the extent to which the organisation, management and employees support established code of conduct, policies and standards of ethical practice. So nak tengok in terms of the compliance of the ethical value lah dalam organisation. Topics that may fall within the scope of such audit include procurement policies, conflict of interest, gifts and gratuities, entertainment, political lobbying, patents, copyright and license, including software use or fair trade practice. So basically the ethical business practice is sebenarnya in practice in the real world it occurred kan berlaku. Oh, this matters susah sebenarnya kita nak hapuskan benda ni sebab dia melibatkan etik ni, dia melibatkan soal kolbu kan, kolbu. And then compliance audit So ini adalah related to the law, rules and regulations lah. Tengok dia compliance. Betul kat sini, for each portion or transaction examined, the auditor must ultimately decide whether it comply with the rule or not. Reaching that conclusion is not necessarily simple in domains governed by government. So dia ni adalah termasuklah pada in term of the compliance of the rules of the occupational health and safety. Kalau dah ni pasal OSHA kan. OSHA, environmental, federal grants and contract, employee pensions and benefit for federal tax. System development and life cycle review, and a system development and life cycle review is an information system audit conducted in partnership with operating personnel who are implementing new information system. So objektif untuk system development and life cycle review ni adalah untuk test the system at various stages throughout the design, development and installation. So the approach is intended to identify issues and correct problems early, because modification made during the developmental stages are less costly. So ini apa yang dia buat ni. Internet audit pun dia tengok juga in terms of the IT semua tu. Control self-assessment of audit is a share audit responsibility by evaluating and reporting on the state of control and level of risk under their supervision. Internal auditors provide training and act as facilitators, and in fact this become a problem-solving partnership and can be cost-effective. Okay, and the last one is financial audit. So ni yang kita knowledge is very familiar to this. Okay. Next is about the internal audit report. Okay, internal audit report will report a summary of findings and recommendation as well as responses, correction plans for management as a reaction to the auditors' comments. So audit findings on the internal audit process by internal auditor contains the following lah. So of the risk yang occurred dalam company tu, dalam audit work, during the audit work that they had identified, the non-compliance with standard factors that may have caused the risk in the organization, consequences resulting of audit findings, and what are the corrective actions that they recommend by the internal auditor to the management. And then assumption, ini boleh tengok sini ya. Kita tengok yang last kali adalah outsourcing ya. Outsourcing the internal audit function. So we have the three things here. Sources the internal audit function takes on a variety of forms, each presenting its own degree of ownership and mix of fixed and variable costs. So we have the in-house. Okay. So in-house adalah the internal audit function is developed and maintained by the organization. Okay. And what is a co-source? Co-source adalah a sourcing provider is contracted to assist the in-house team. So macam kita dah ada in-house team. And then with specific audit projects such as supply chain efficiency or IT risk management. And what is outsourced? Outsourced adalah the entire internal audit function or significant components of it, such as internal audit operation, are contracted to a sourcing provider. So kalau outsource ni memang tak ada lah. Kalau source ni dia ada. Dia juga. So we have a few of the benefit bila company ni outsource lah. Okay. Tapi basically kalau yang outsource ni normally company yang tak berapa besar kan. So dia tak ada banyak benda yang perlu dia wujudkan internal audit tu. So dia hanya outsource lah. Untuk company-company yang kecil dia akan outsource the internal auditor. And also here we provide you the reasons for the outsourcing. Kalau macam tadi I ada bagi tahu you awal-awal tadi at the beginning yang kita discuss this topic sebab of due to the skills, okay? Due to the skills yang kita tak ada, so kita perlu outsource. Specialized knowledge yang kita tak ada. Okay? Apa yang bawah sekali tu, kita nak second opinion daripada person outside the company. Sebab tu dia outsource. So, itu untuk tajuk internal audit. Okay. Topik. Ada soalan kelas? Do you have any questions? Do you have any question? No question. Ada question tak? So ramai tak masuk kelas ni terlibat dengan banjir ke macam mana? Tak ada banjir kan, tapi itu just 29, 28 of you. Macam pasal attendance ni saya tak sempat nak tip balik sebab saya dah buat macam tu. It's your responsible lah untuk ada check attendance tu kan. Saya tak boleh nak attend tu kalau yang tak buka attendance tu. Class, do you have any question? Soalan?
Doktor.
Ada doktor.
Ya. Syarifah ha?
Nak tanya kalau yang part A assignment tu nak hantar dekat mana?
Assignment tu saya akan meletak dalam klip nanti. Supposed to be this week kan, nanti bila saya dah letak tu saya akan
Okay. Lepas tu yang midterm tu
midterm tu kita tak boleh nak buat sebab ada grup lain yang terlibat dengan banjir. So all their notes semua buku hilang. Jadi saya untuk grup kita ni tak ada masalah kan, semua tak terlibat dengan banjir. Tapi ada grup lain tu yang untuk A dan B tu ada yang pelajar terlibat dengan banjir. So saya just tunggu daripada diorang lah. So untuk you all just be prepared lah macam mana. Okay? Saya pun kalau boleh nak buat awal-awal tu nak settle kan. So lambat-lambat nanti nak final apa semua lagi. Nak marking lagi apa semua kan. So macam tu lah. Saya tunggu confirmation daripada diorang juga lah sebab pelajar. Kesian juga kalau nak buat diorang tak ada buku, kena banjir apa semua tu.
so tunggu daripada doktor je lah macam mana nanti.
Saya tunggu update daripada another two groups lah macam mana.
Okay, baik doktor.
Okay. Okay, ada soalan lain? Have any other question? So macam biasa for the afternoon class nanti please take your attendance, saya akan ada bagi soalan pada you. Okay, untuk you buat with regard to this topic on internal audit ni lah. Okay. So kalau tak ada nanti kita end our class and we see you again next week insyaAllah. Thank you and Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, Doktor.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you, Doktor.